Hello everyone, this is actually going to be a very short live stream because I would really like to keep this less than 10 minutes. I have more school stuff to work on, but I really wanted to share the brand deck that I created for a school assignment. It has 26 slides and it's in a PDF format. So I'm just going to go through each page fairly quickly and explain what I was going for. So what I'm going to do is I have it in an Adobe Acrobat window. So I'm going to be sharing my screen here. Let's see here. And I'm going to get into it. So this here is my logo that I made. I made a special logo containing the white rose, and it has a checkerboard because the checkerboard is my symbol of balance. Now the font used here is actually called Edit Undo Brick, if I understand correctly. It is a special font that I happen to have installed on Linux, but I also installed it on Windows for the sake of editing it for this assignment. And I just like the look of that font because it looks pixelated. It looks like something from the NES or Game Boy days. So that's why I used it for my logo. This says Chastity White Rose, the vegan virgin. And on the next slide, we see the square version. So instead of having a whole landscape mode, this is the square version. This is what would be used for a profile picture on Facebook or Instagram or any other type of website where a perfect square is required. And it works well because the checkerboard has squares. And this is a page where there is a photo of me and some text I wrote about the kind of things that I do, who I am and what I do, what I'm interested in, and also an explanation of the colors that I use, why I use the rainbow so frequently in my art, but also why I tend to use a lot of black and white. And you'll notice that my picture is in grayscale, also called black and white, but it also contains shades of gray. And that is because I look best when I am in grayscale. That's one reason why, but I also just like it. And here are some simple words to describe the way my art is: honesty, purity, simplicity, and geometry. Everything that I do, the shapes have to be a certain way. You know, the colors have to be a certain way. My art is very simple. It's not very complex, but it's just things are what they are. What you see is what you get, and that's very much the feel I go through in my art. And then here's some more text I wrote about the colors and some of the words I meant, and also a little bit about unicorns. Yeah. A unicorn once told me that rainbows are created when the light of truth touches the tears of the pure in heart. I remember this every time I see a rainbow, and I know that my friend Honesty the Unicorn is not far away. And there is the progress flag that I designed. Because you may have seen the progress flag. Well, this is my own version of it that I designed in Inkscape that has the colors that I preferred, similar to the colors that normally exist in a progress flag, but I kind of customized them a little bit to my liking. This shows the 8 most extreme colors that are possible on a computer and also their hex codes. This is a page about fonts that I prefer, but mostly I like mono-spaced fonts where the spacing between the letters is equal. And I don't know very much about fonts, but the font names that I mentioned tend to be fonts that are typically available on Microsoft Windows, which most people have. But really, I'm not that picky about fonts. But mentioning fonts that I use was one of the required parts of the assignment. And this is a screenshot of the title screen of Chastress, the first game I ever made. Here's a screenshot of what it looks like when you're playing the game with the mechanical T-spin setup at the beginning there. This is a screenshot of Chase Puyo, the second game I made. Here is a screenshot of Chase Panel, the third game I made, which is basically like a Panel de Pon clone. Here is my special star. It's like the Star of David, like the Jewish star, but it's really two interlocking triangles. One is black and white, and one is a rainbow. And this image, I feel like more than any other image, really represents a lot of things about me because I like black and white, but I also like rainbows. And I also like triangles. The triangle is the first of all regular polygons, and it's probably become one of my favorite shapes. And this is a rainbow butterfly, and it describes itself. I mean, it's a butterfly and it's a rainbow, and I designed this thing. I looked at pictures of butterflies, and then I designed this butterfly based on what I saw. Here are some pictures that were actually used for covers of my books in my Chandler's Honesty series. They're very beautiful, and you see the design got more complex with each book. And here is something very important I created. There's a game that I started but I never finished, and it was called SDL Chase Box Game. And there was this one level in it where I had the text that said Rainbow Pro-Life Alliance, LGBTQ plus rights start a conception. And I decided to include this in my brand deck because I am pro-life and I am part of the Rainbow Pro-Life Alliance. And I don't want people to forget that fact because it's very important to me. It's very important. It has nothing to do with what's required for school, and it really has nothing to do with most of what I do in general with my art and video gaming. But I don't want this part of me to be forgotten. This is another screenshot from the same game showing the yin and yang, which is the ancient Tao or Chinese symbol of balance. This idea of yin and yang or light and darkness, the opposing forces of the universe. It's very Star Wars if you think about it. But I also use the checkerboard to represent this balance. This is a bunny I made with the text that says cruelty free because rabbits are often used in experiments for cosmetics, and I am against this. I'm a vegan, and I'm against animal cruelty, and because the bunny is such a symbol used on cruelty-free products, it inspired me to make this bunny that is really a very geometrically designed rabbit. It's made of some simple shapes that I created, but it still looks a little bit like a bunny. And here's duck privileges. Only my friend Lucas knows about the duck privileges. I can't explain it. You really had to be there. This is a metal pentagram. I call this the metal pentagram because it's a 5-pointed star, but it's designed to look almost three-dimensional. Here's the same thing, but it's more of a hexagram. And the gradients I use with the black and white, it just made it really beautiful. I've forgotten how I even did it, but I still have the original files, and you bet I was going to include this. And here's a star I made. It's like the star on the Super Mario Brothers games. This is a screenshot of my Twitch channel showing my featured clips. I have only 14 followers, which is not very impressive, but I'm just starting out, and I have a lot of entertaining stuff on my Twitch channel. Here is a screenshot of one of the main files from my Chase Triss game. This is in Visual Studio Code, mostly for the syntax highlighting, just so I can show you an example of what my computer programming code looks like. This is like less than 1% of all the code of the game. It's only one screenshot of it, but there's so many kilobytes of code. And finally, this slide tells the information, some final notes that I am the creator of all the content in the slides. The art is mine. I took screenshots of my own content just so the professor and anyone else would know that I'm not plagiarizing or stealing work from anyone else when I do this. I feel like that's an important thing to note. That's why I included it in my final notes on my final slide. So, there you have it. And I know that's kind of short, and usually I like to do a longer stream on my nights off from Walmart, showing video games of Tetris or chess or shogi or something like that. I don't really have that kind of time right now. I still have one more assignment to do, but I most definitely wanted to share this brand deck while I had the chance, just so that I have a record of this permanently on Twitch. And because I also plan to share this to other social media, just to show people, all this art that I create, all this stuff that I have done. And I'm actually quite impressed. I care more about the beauty of my art and what I stand for and my values than I even do my school assignments. And I'm actually surprised by that. So, anyway, as I always say, be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.